everyone, and welcome back to We're Talking About. My name is Kaley Gray, and this episode is super special to me because my dad is a guest. And we normally do our Dad and Me podcast, but we're taking a little break right now. And so I'm having him on my podcast. And we are doing a podcast where I have never been before.
Out in the yard?
Out in the yard. And we're kind of on a hill. So if my dad starts spinning or falls off this chair...
No, it was Kaylee's fault. Yep, it was her idea.
It was my idea. But we are doing a podcast, if you saw today's title. It is about my third children's book, ABCs of the Farm. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see a picture. My dad's holding it up. But we are super excited to kind of get to share this story. I am home this weekend launching my book in August. And so this episode won't come out until September. And what's crazy is... when I first initially told you about me writing a third children's book, I dedicated it to you, and I gave it to you on your birthday.
Yes, you did. That's good.
And so, I don't know, did you know that I was going to do that?
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, so The Adventures on the Farm, if you don't know, this is my third children's book. And so the first one is about counting. The second one is about colors and the process of a garden. And it's all after my late grandmother and our family farm here in Iowa, which is the farm that my dad grew up on.
Yep.
And so I thought it would just be special to dedicate this next book that I'm doing to him and include him in the story, I guess.
Yep.
And so we have Farmer Bradley when he was little in there. And so
there's only two people in my life that call me Bradley, and that was my great grandma and my wife every now and then.
Yeah.
Even when I got in trouble, I didn't really get called Bradley very often.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, that's so funny. So yeah, so we have a little Farmer Bradley with us. But it's kind of special because you've always been the one telling me stories about the farm. So like, does it feel weird to be in the story?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it is. I'm kind of humble, I guess, in some ways, and I don't like to talk about myself.
I know. So this podcast, I was like, oh, goodness, it's either going to be really quick.
And I set some boundaries, no feely questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, so.
How did that make you feel? Well, I wasn't tired. I wasn't hungry. I'm good. So, yeah.
If you know my dad, you're just not a sensitive person. And, like, you are excited. Like, I think when I told you I was, like, writing the book about you, you're like, well, that's nice. And like, to me, I'm like, that's like Brad Gray saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Yep. That's so amazing. This is so sweet of you. But that's just the way that.
Ever since I met Jesus, I don't get excited by too many other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my benchmark.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot.
So it was so funny because I would have friends be like, oh, I just can't wait to see your dad's reaction when he finds out, like, he's in a book. And I just was like.
Can't wait to see your dad's non-reaction.
I was like, well, I knew you, like, it meant a lot to you. I thought it was, I knew you thought it was sweet, but I knew I wasn't going to get, like, a huge reaction out of you, so.
Yeah, 100 years from now when they read this book, they'll wonder, who was this guy?
Who was this guy? Yeah. Okay, so for people that don't know, can you describe the kind of farm that you grew up on?
It was a purpose farm in some ways where we had agriculture growth and then also we had animals, so mostly cattle, and then we had some pigs and some horses. But yeah, we did rotation of crops and things like that. Yeah.
So you did like corn, soybeans,
alfalfa.
Which alfalfa is
hay,
which for the people that don't know.
And sometimes every now and then some oats. You'd put an oat crop down to stop erosion if you seeded down some new ground. So we'd have oats every now and then. But yeah, we kind of did it that way. And yeah, always and a lot of the corn that my dad raised, he would run through the cattle. We would feed out cattle till they're up around 1,100 pounds and sell them at market.
Yeah, which I know there's probably a correct term for it, but I always called them fat cows. But when people would be like, oh, what does your grandpa do? I'm like, well, he does fat cows. Like, he fattens cows up and sends them to slaughter. So, so we'll talk a little bit about some memories of, like, working cattle and everything together. But first, what was, like, one of your favorite memories of growing up on the farm?
I just kind of like the animals, I guess, and stuff, and horses. Cattle was my two favorite. Pigs, too, a little bit. I like playing with the baby pigs after they were born.
They can be mean. Big pigs are kind of mean.
The sows can be the mothers can be a little touchy. So we would, in the wintertime, we'd put them in the ferrying house, and there'd be little cubicles mother would be in and had a little thing so they couldn't lay on the pigs, and then we'd let the mothers out to eat morning and night, and then I would clean the stalls, and then I would, kind of play with the baby pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that, but mostly cattle. I liked working cattle with my dad, and it's really kind of fun.
Can you explain maybe to somebody working cattle what that meant, kind of?
It's a high stress.
It's very stressful.
You know,
That's the only time I saw like grandma and grandpa like literally like yell at each other hardcore, or you and grandpa yelling. Granted, like when you were older in life. I don't know if you did when you were kids, but
no, but it was just a lot of very mellow people get revved up chasing cattle, and basically it's just you're trying to sort them or do different things with them, and they're an animal and they got a mind of their own, and there's a technique to it. You got to study the body language of the animal and to know where to stand exactly. If you're 6 inches off, you get yelled at.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes, that's just the way it goes. But it was it was fun.
And at least how I remember it is like when we would move cattle and things like that, we'd have to move them from like a field, and we would literally like walk them down the road, and then take them into like where we would tag them and stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes we'd put them in and we'd work them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd work the cat.
You'd have to sort the babies from the moms, and
you give vaccinations, and sometimes you would tag them. Sometimes you put fly tags on them, keep the flies away from their eyes, and just send them to different pastures, and then we'd walk them down the road, and you'd have different people because there's driveways, people's houses, so you'd always try to get ahead of them to block.
Yeah, you'd have to be in. Yeah,
and so getting some pretty fun wild things.
Should we just tell about my story? Like when I was given a whip, I literally just thought I was amazing.
You have a whip without a tail is what we gave you?
Yeah, okay, it was like a broken one. But anyways, I didn't know that. I was probably like, what?
When I mean a tail, the tail's only about that long. It wasn't a big whip like you see on a bullwhip or nothing.
Yeah, no.
Well, after we'd work the calves and they'd come out of the head gate, Kaley's job was to shoosh them around the corner. And sometimes they shooshed and sometimes they didn't. Sometimes she'd have to retreat a little bit. He was only 4 or 5 or 6 years old. Probably. He was probably older than 4, probably 6 or 7. Maybe.
Yeah, and then when I got a little bit older, I got to like push from the back a little bit, and then I also sometimes got to stand in a driveway.
Yeah.
And so, because what did Grandpa always say, like Suki?
Well, that's great grandpa. Dad would too, but my grandpa would do that.
Yeah.
Sook.
And
Suki sometimes, he'd call them. A lot of times they did that when they fed them, if you give them corn or different things. Sometimes you would, if you do that, they're used to that call, and then they will follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. I just was always like, oh, I am, I'm really good at what I'm doing.
And that was an old saying, a lot of guys don't do it anymore. But
yes. And I remember too, one time because the mama and the baby calves like get a little bit aggressive and upset when they're separated.
Yeah.
And then, we put them all back together, and then we're like driving them down the road again to get back into the pasture. And I just remember like, again, I'm like probably like 11, 12 years old thinking, oh, I got this. And I'm like, whipping a mama cow, and she like turned at me like she was going to like come at me because she couldn't find her baby. And you had to put the four-wheeler in between us.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, that humbled me a little bit. And I was like,
how many times have I saved your life in the deer? I can't remember all of them.
Okay.
But anyway, they sometimes the moms can get a little touchy. You know, you got to be careful about
all
that.
All moms can.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We could go into that all day. Yeah.
Stuff. Okay. What was your least favorite chore as a kid?
Oh, we had a silo, and there was a shed attached to the side of the silo, and we would. The silage would come down the chute and then go out on the belt, and then my dad would add grain, corn. We would crack the corn, shell corn. You run it through the grinder, but you wouldn't mill it, but you would just crack it, and then you would put it in this bin, and then it would come up with an auger. Anyway, that shed would get terrible messy. All the silage dust and all the corn dust and everything would be in there. Well, every summer we had to clean that out. And so my job would be to do that. Well, guess which, this thing was facing the south, and guess which direction the wind comes from?
The south.
The south. So every time you threw dust out, into the wagon, it would just come back in your face, and I just hated that job. And I didn't like fencing very good either. Fixing fence. Usually when it rained, you didn't get a day off. I mean, the day out, you wouldn't be out in the rain, but after it rained, it'd be a little muddy to go do other things. Well, that's the day we would go and fix fence. And for whatever reason, I just didn't care for fixing fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those deals out there in the damp and,
Yeah.
Fighting in the weeds because the fence, weeds grow up around the fence and all that stuff. Yeah.
Because it was a pretty big farm too.
Oh yeah, it was right. We had around 900 acres or so, give or take.
Yeah, so it wasn't a small feat by any means.
Yep.
Did you ever get in trouble on the farm as a kid?
Farming related or other kinds related?
Farming related.
Farming related? Well, yeah, I got in trouble several times for doing stupid things, I suppose. I was always in a hurry. Like working the crops, I'd have a big old disc on, like we had this 16-foot disc, which is small compared to some now, but it was very heavy. And I remember one time I was in the field and it had a slough and it had a finger coming up, and I'd already done all the dirt around that. So on this side, so instead of taking the time to drive around, I thought I'd take a shortcut through the grass.
Oh no.
It was wet.
Oh no.
I buried it. Couldn't get out, couldn't get myself out, and I just buried the disc, buried the tractor, and then I had to do the walk of shame home, which is about a half mile or better, because they didn't have phones back then, or cell phones, and it's probably maybe farther than that, cutting through but I cut through and got him, and then Dad was just upset.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Yeah, he was, pretty carried away.
Oh, goodness.
Had to get a neighbor to come help pull us out, had to pull him out of the field, so it was one of those deals.
Oh, man.
Hey, stuff happens,
Yeah, you live and learn. Yeah,
learn as you go.
That's funny. So other than me working cattle, but do you remember a story of the first time that I came out to the farm to help you? Now, granted, when I was born, you actually brought me home to the farm because that's where you and Mom lived for a few months of my life. So that doesn't really count as the first time like going out on the farm. But I'm trying to think of like when I was like a toddler. Actually, I do have a picture of you, me, and Grandpa, and I'm in like these overalls. And I was probably like maybe 4, and I was just crying because I think I had to go out to the farm with you. Huh. And I think I probably had to ride in the tractor. I think y'all were like probably harvesting or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what that would have been. I don't remember, just mostly cattle is what I remember with you the most.
But I do remember sometimes riding in the cab of the tractor.
Feeding bales of hay or doing something like that. You might have been on that. But it's just... it's a danger. Farming's dangerous.
Yes, it is.
A lot of people don't really understand how dangerous it is. But as I look back at my life, I know my parents loved me, but boy, they put me in some precarious situations, doing some things,
Yeah.
I would never let my kids do what I got to do on the farm,
Yeah.
I guess. That's just...
Especially you, like, going up on the silo.
Yeah, the silo and working with the sows, and trying to put them back in the farrowing crates by myself because if a baby pig gets the squealing, the first thing a sow does is they attack, and they'll come right after you, and I'd fight them off with the scoop shovel. And as I look back, it's just crazy.
Man, do you have like a funny moment that happened while you were working cattle or like in the tractor or something?
We'll have a funny moment, but it wasn't with that. It was just my dad. My dad used to smoke, and this is a classic. We had this, we was out giving some shots to some cattle. Something was going on. I don't remember exactly why we had to give them some shots about something, but we had went home and I had rinsed out the needle. The needle looks like a gun. You hold it in your hand and you can squeeze it looks like a gun, and then it shoots out. Well, we gave one shot, so then I had to rinse it out because we was going to use another medicine on the cows. So I walked up to the house and I rinsed it out and had it all cleaned up, but I left some water in it. And I went out there and Dad had run out of cigarettes, and he had dug through the ashtray in the truck and finally found
like a little butt.
little butt of a cigarette. And you just had it lit, and I come out to the road because we had the trailer on, so we was parked in the road, and I pretended I was like Matt Dillon, a gunslinger, and I went like this, and I shot and squirted the water. It was about 10 feet, and I hit the cigarette and put water on it and just wrecked it. Oh, it was just terrible. Oh, he was so hot.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure he was.
That just about makes me cry laughing.
That is
just seeing his face, and I mean, he had to admit it was a good shot.
Yeah, it was. He probably was like impressed that it was a good
As he
shot.
looked back,
Yeah.
that was a good shot. But yeah.
Oh, that's funny. One of the, I wouldn't say it's funny, but I laugh about it now, is when you had to play dead with the.
Oh yeah, we had that Solar Bowl. Yeah, it was it's like one of those deals on TV where you see somebody running from a bowl and they fall down. You think, well, that's stupid. Why did you fall down? Well, anyway, we had just had a bunch of rain, and we had a new seeding of alfalfa, and the ground's really not solid. It's still loose because it hasn't settled yet. And the Solar Bull jumped out of the fence and got in there. Well, my job was to go get him. Well, that bull never did like me. I mean, he was just a terror bull.
Yeah.
And anyway, you walk up to a bull and you can kind of tell when they're mad. They start to arch their back and they snort a little bit. And I knew when he done that, it was over. And then I looked how far I was from the fence. I knew it was going to be tough to make it out to safety. So I took off running, but Ben's, it was so muddy, I went down on the ground. And all I went through my mind was, man, this thing, he's going to trump me.
Yeah.
And I was down there, and all of a sudden he just went, snorted on me. And then
he left.
Yeah, so that was.
Yeah. It's amazing he didn't stomp on you.
Oh, yeah. He had me dead to rights. I was down.
Yeah.
I just had covered my head, and I was ready for it.
And
so.
I mean, I was born. We were kids.
Yeah,
you know,
you
so
were
it wasn't
around,
like
yeah.
you were like a young kid. I mean.
I was in my 30s probably.
Yeah.
I suppose.
You were probably in your 40s because the boys
Yeah,
were
probably
born.
was
the
about
boys,
40, yeah,
the boys
probably
were
40s,
born
yeah.
too. So yeah, just so crazy. You think about the things.
And just different. I mean, another deal. I went out and one of the horses. Mom had Tennessee Walkers, and I went out to the field. And one of them had a cut on her foot, and because she got in some wire somehow, and she was a nice horse and pretty mellow, but we have this spray can of screwworm stuff, and it keeps the flies away. So I didn't want it to get infected, so I was being a nice guy, and it was around her front foot and right around the ankle. So I went up and I gave it a little spray.
Oh, goodness.
Well, I didn't quite hit it right, so then I went back and gave it another spray. And I can tell she's getting a little bit peeved because when a horse gets mad, their ears go back. I went in for the third spray.
Oh, no.
And I got it, but that horse reared up her front, spun around, and kicked me with her back legs and made me go flying about 10 or 12 feet in the air.
And did you break ribs?
No, that was a different time. I didn't break ribs, I don't think, but that was on the four-wheeler. That was a different deal. But I kid you not, the first thing that went through my mind when I was laying on the ground taking inventory was the fact that, how am I going to get over the gate? Because I had to cross a gate to get into this field to go help the horse, and I didn't think I could actually navigate the gate because I was just laid out, but I got up and nothing was broken that I know of. I don't remember anything really serious, but yeah.
It's so funny. I know we laugh about him now. I mean, it's probably not funny in the moment, and you could have
it
gotten
wasn't very funny right then.
Could have gotten like seriously hurt, but
Yeah.
that one kind of brings me to tears. I forgot about that one. Okay, we can move on. So, I felt like it was important for you to bring me and the boys out to the farm with you at times. And even though we didn't live on the farm, but you still wanted to bring us out there. Why was that important to you?
I'll just experience country living, and also the idea of learning responsibility, what it is to take care of animals and things like that, how important it is. One thing I learned from my dad especially was the fact that he always put his animals first, made sure they had something to eat. And, even in a terrible blizzard, I remember going out and trying to take food to the cattle and different things just to make sure that they had something, to help sustain them, So you just learn that responsibility, and I suppose that kind of carried over in the area of being a pastor,
Yeah.
I mean, you just kind of put people first. And
You take care of your sheep.
Yeah, take care of your sheep, yeah. So that, as I look back, I learned some traits doing that, but just the responsibility of it. You got to get stuff done. There is nobody else coming sometimes to help. You're the starter, and you're the finisher, and you're everything in between sometimes, and that's just the way it is.
Because there were times where I'm like, oh, it's so much fun. Like, let's go out to the farm. This is going to be like so much fun, what we're doing. And then there were other times I'm like, oh, I am dreading what we're going to have to do, like the work we're going to have to do.
Some of it can be kind of harder, yeah.
It is.
Sure.
But I'm glad that we got to experience that and do that. And that was a lot of the reason why I started Adventures on the Farm books is because I realized so many people hadn't experienced farm life or hadn't been exposed to farm life. And so even though, I didn't grow up on the farm, I heard so many stories about you and just from grandma and grandpa and everything. And so it was something special.
And you work together as a family. I mean, that's something that I learned too, is to work with family. Families do things together. I mean, just getting jobs done, and you get closer sometimes to the people you work with. And
Yeah,
sometimes you don't. Sometimes they irritate you, but hey, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Okay, so which letter in the Adventures on the Farm ABC stood out to you most? Like, which one was your favorite letter?
Oh, a couple. I mean, horses. I mean, H was kind of cool because I always liked riding horses. I don't do it anymore. I mean, evidently I wasn't love it, but Dad had a paint, and
which is like a spotted horse.
And I rode that as a little kid. Even when I was 3 or 4 years old, I'd hop on that horse and go about a quarter mile up the road to my great grandma's house. And then I had an Appaloosa and used to chase cattle with that and ride it bareback and things like that. And then Mom got Tennessee Walkers. But my favorite would have been Missy the Appaloosa was my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so if you could change a letter in my book, you can't, I mean, it's printed, so we're not changing it. But if you wanted to change a letter, what would you change?
I think the letter K.
Okay.
Instead of kindness, I'd say kicked by a cow, because every time you get the cows up, I remember Dad would get them up, we had Angus starting out, and then we got Charolais bulls and bred them up, so they got a little, big, too much Charolais, and then they got pretty tall, and they was, up nose high with me, and we'd get them in, and you have to give them a shot. Well, instead of running through the chute, we just get him in a pen, and Dad would say, go up there close and give him a shot. And finally, I got old enough to say, you go do that. I knew I'm not going to.
Because you knew.
Because they whack you one. Just give you a good kick, and you'd know it. But the closer you are, the less it hurts. That is a true statement.
That's true. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do rapid fire. Tractor or four-wheeler?
Depends what you're doing, but far as fun, the four-wheeler.
Okay. Planting season or harvest season?
I like the harvest.
Okay. Horses or cows?
That's a tie.
You like
depends
both.
what you're doing, but I like working cattle. I mean, I enjoy that. But and eating them, I guess, too.
And eating them, too, sunrise on the farm or sunset on the farm?
You're getting a little in the feelings there. I don't know.
Waking up early or...
I'm an early person, so that's me. I like waking up early.
Yeah. I would say so. Well, I just thank you for, letting me interview you about the book. Hopefully we didn't do too many feelings questions.
No,
but
that's fine. Yeah,
it's been fun to just hear back some of the stories of the farm, of just what I remember you telling me as a kid. And it's kind of fun to share them with all of you that are listening. And I would love for you, if you have not bought a copy of the Adventures on the Farm ABC, I would love for you to get that copy. And I also have a bundle price for all 3 books together. So be sure to check out my website, adventuresonthefarm.com. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. This was really special to me to get to interview my dad, who I dedicated this last book for. And so anyways.
And the first time outside in front
first time outside. We made it.
In front of a bean field. That's a bean field behind us. We're out of the church right now.
Yeah. And it's like 80 degrees and I'm just like sweating here. So I was like,
cool.
Yeah. So anyways, well, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode and I can't wait to see you next time.
God bless.
Bye.